The night was cold and heavy with silence. The ruined battlefield stretched as far as the eye could see. Broken steel, burned earth, and the smell of smoke still filled the air. Alex, a young human soldier, walked alone among the shadows. His armor was scratched, his sword dull, and his heart tired. He had been fighting for years, yet nothing ever changed. The shadows kept coming, endless and merciless. Humanity was losing. Alex stopped near a broken wall and looked up at the dark sky. The stars were hidden by black clouds, and the moon seemed pale and weak. For a moment, he closed his eyes. Loneliness crushed him harder than any wound. Everyone he had fought beside was gone. Friends, comrades, even his commander, they had all fallen one by one. He was alive, but he did not feel alive. He felt like a ghost walking in a world already dead. The silence broke when he whispered to himself. His voice was low, almost a prayer. I wish someone would fight beside me forever. Someone who would never leave. He did not expect an answer. Wishes were useless in this world. Yet the moment he spoke, the air changed. The cold grew sharper, like a blade against the skin. The night wind stopped moving, as if the whole world held its breath. Alex opened his eyes in alarm. From the shadows before him, a figure appeared. At first, it looked like smoke rising from the ground. Slowly, it shaped itself into a woman. She wore dark armor, shining faintly like black glass. Her long hair flowed like liquid midnight, and her skin was pale as snow. But it was her eyes that froze Alex in place, glowing red like burning embers hidden in ash. She smiled. It was not the smile of comfort, but of mystery and danger. Her voice was soft and smooth, yet carried weight, as if it belonged to something far older than the world itself. I heard your wish, she said, and I accept. I am your warbride now. Alex stumbled back, his hand gripping his sword. His heart pounded, but his body would not move. She was beautiful, too beautiful, like something carved out of a dream. Yet behind that beauty was something wrong, something unnatural. Who are you? Alex forced the words out. The woman tilted her head, watching him with amusement. Names are dangerous, soldier. But if you must call me something, Serafina will do. She stepped closer, her boots silent against the stone. You wished for someone who would never leave you. That is what I am. Your wish has bound me here. Your warbride, forever. Alex shook his head, confused and afraid. I didn't mean it. It was only words, only a thought. Seraphine's smile widened, showing the hint of sharp teeth. Wishes do not care about meaning. Wishes care about truth. And your heart's truth was strong enough to call me. Do not deny it. The air around her seemed to pulse with unseen power. The shadows that prowled in the ruins suddenly stopped, as if too afraid to come closer. Alex noticed this and realized she was not just strange. She was dangerous. Even the creatures of the dark feared her. Why me? He whispered. She touched her armored chest lightly with one hand. Because you were alone? Because you asked. Because you belong to me now. Her words wrapped around him like chains. He wanted to run, but his legs felt heavy. He wanted to shout, but his voice failed him. Instead, he stared at her and saw the truth in her red eyes. She was no normal woman. She was something else. Something out of the old nightmares, whispered in campfires, vampires. The silence stretched long. Finally, Serafina leaned closer, her eyes never leaving his. Do not fear. I will fight beside you. I will kill your enemies. I will guard your life. But remember, Alex, wishes always have a price. A chill ran through him. He had called her by accident, yet now she stood before him, more real than anything. He thought about the comrades he had lost, the endless battles, the loneliness he could not escape. A part of him longed for her promise, for her strength, for the idea that he would never be alone again. But another part screamed warning. The night seemed darker now, the clouds heavier, the silence deeper. The ruins around him looked like a graveyard waiting for its last victim. And in the center of it stood Seraphina, glowing faintly with her red eyes, smiling as if she already owned his soul. Alex gripped his sword tighter, though he knew it was useless. The wish had been spoken. The Warbride had answered. His fate was sealed, and somewhere deep inside, he already knew this was only the beginning. The night did not return to normal after Seraphina appeared. The cold stayed sharp, the silence heavy, as if the world itself was listening. Alex stood frozen, staring at the woman who called herself his Warbride. She looked human, but not truly. Every movement she made was too smooth, too perfect, as if she had been carved out of shadow and dream. Seraphina watched him like a hunter watches prey, but her smile was soft, almost kind. "Do not tremble, Alex," she said. "You asked, and I answered. I am here because you wished for me. You wanted someone who would never leave. That bond cannot be broken." Her words sank into him like needles. Alex had spent years begging for help, shouting prayers to gods that never listened. And now, something had finally answered, not a god, not a man, but a creature from the darkest stories. He struggled to find his voice. What are you really?" She stepped closer, her armor whispering in the still air. The faint glow in her eyes burned brighter. "I am what humans fear and desire in equal measure. A daughter of blood. A princess of the night. A vampire." The word hit him like thunder. His mouth went dry. He had heard tales monsters who fed on men, who lived forever in darkness, who ruled with fangs and fire. But never had he seen one with his own eyes. Never had he believed they could be real. And now one stood in front of him, claiming to be bound to him by a wish. Alex raised his sword, though his hands shook. "If you're a vampire, why don't you kill me?" Seraphina tilted her head, amused. Her black hair shifted like liquid shadow as she spoke. "Because you are mine." A warbride does not kill her chosen. She protects him. She belongs to him. And he belongs to her. That is the vow. He took a step back, his boots scraping on the broken stone. A vow. Her eyes narrowed, her smile fading into something sharper. "Yes, my vow is simple. While you live, I will not leave your side. While you fight, I will fight beside you. If you fall, I will carry you. And if death comes for you, then death must pass through me first. This is my oath." The words were spoken like iron, heavy and unbreakable. For a heartbeat, Alex felt a strange comfort. The shadows that haunted the ruins, the endless creatures of the dark, if she truly fought for him, maybe he had a chance to survive. But then came the chill. He remembered the price she had warned of. "And what do you want from me in return?" Her smile returned, softer but no less dangerous. "Only what is natural. Your loyalty. Your trust. And, when the time comes, your blood." Alex's stomach tightened. "My blood. Do not fear," she whispered, stepping so close that her voice was almost in his ear. "I will not take it without your consent. But our bond must be fed, or it will wither. You wished for forever, Alex. Forever is not free." Her words wrapped around him like chains again. He wanted to deny her, to shout that he had not meant the wish. But deep down, he knew it was useless. She was real. She was here, and she had no intention of leaving. The silence broke with a scream in the distance. The sound of a shadow beast, one of the night horrors, echoed through the ruins. Its claws scraped stone. Its growl rattled the air. Alex turned quickly, sword ready, but Seraphina only sighed. "So fragile, these creatures," she said. Her eyes glowed brighter, her fangs flashing for the first time. In a blur, she moved faster than Alex's eyes could follow. One moment she was beside him, the next she was across the battlefield. The beast had no time to strike. Her blade cut through it, and the air filled with sparks of blood and darkness. When she returned, her armor was splattered red, but her smile was calm. "See?" she whispered. "You are safe with me." Alex stared, half in awe, half in terror. He had never seen power like that. She was death-wrapped in beauty, a storm wearing a human face. For the first time, he wondered if the shadows that had plagued humanity for years were not the true monsters. Perhaps the vampires were far worse. Seraphina touched his cheek with a cold hand, her red eyes softer now. "Do not fear me, Alex. I am your war bride. I will not betray you. But remember this vow, and never forget, you are mine, as I am yours." Her voice was gentle, but the meaning was sharp as a blade. Alex swallowed hard, staring into her glowing eyes. Somewhere inside him, fear and longing twisted together. Part of him wanted to run. Part of him wanted to believe her. The night grew darker still. The ruins echoed with silence once more. And Alex realized something terrifying. He was no longer alone, but he might have invited something far more dangerous than loneliness. The vow had been spoken. The bond was sealed. And his wish had already begun to change his world forever. The nights that followed were unlike anything Alex had ever known. Once he had walked through ruins with only silence and shadows for company. Now Seraphina was always there, gliding through the darkness at his side. Her presence was strange comfort and constant danger all at once. She moved with grace that no human could copy. When Alex lit a small fire, her face shone pale and perfect in the glow, her red eyes like rubies reflecting the flames. She spoke little, but when she did, her words carried a weight that pressed against his chest. He tried not to look at her too long, but his eyes always found their way back. One night, as they rested near the shell of a broken tower, Alex asked the question that had been burning in his mind. "Why do you stay so close, even when there is no danger?" Seraphina leaned against the wall, her armored hand resting on her sword. She tilted her head, studying him as if he were a puzzle. "Because I must. A war bride never leaves her chosen. But there is more." She paused, her lips curving faintly. "You interest me, Alex. Humans are weak, yet you called me. That makes you different." Her voice was smooth, almost teasing, but Alex did not miss the shadow behind her words. He rubbed the scar on his arm, unsure what to say. "Different doesn't mean special. I only made a mistake. A mistake." Her laugh was soft, low, almost musical. "You call it a mistake, yet it gave you me. Do you regret it?" Alex opened his mouth, then closed it again. Regret, yes. He feared her, feared what she might take from him. But when he looked into her glowing eyes, he also felt something else. Not safety, not peace, but a strange warmth he had almost forgotten. The warmth of not being alone. "I don't know," he admitted at last. Seraphina smiled in a way that unsettled him. "That is good. It means your heart is still deciding. I prefer it that way." The night air grew colder. From the shadows beyond the ruined tower, creatures stirred shapes with glowing eyes, crawling on clawed hands. Alex reached for his sword, ready to fight. But Seraphina touched his arm lightly. "Stay," she whispered. Then she moved. Her blade cut through the dark faster than a blink. The creatures screamed, but their cries ended quickly, lost to the silence of her strikes. When it was over, she returned, her armor shining wet with black blood. Her breathing was steady, her expression calm, as if the battle had been nothing. Alex stared. "You make it look easy." "It is easy," she replied simply. For me, for you, it is death. That is why I remain close. That is why you need me." The words hit him harder than the battle itself. She was right. Alone, he would already be dead. His sword could not match her speed. His strength could not break those beasts. Without her, he was nothing more than a man waiting to fall. But as he looked at her, wiping the blood from her pale cheek with her gauntlet, he also wondered, what would happen when she grew hungry? Would she still protect him more? Would she turn that hunger on him instead? Later that same night, as the fire burned low, Alex tried to sleep. But he woke suddenly to a strange feeling, cold fingers brushing his throat. His eyes flew open. Serafina was beside him, leaning close, her fangs glinting in the faint firelight. What are you doing?" His hand went to his sword, but he did not draw it. She froze, then pulled back, slowly, her red eyes glowing faintly. "Forgive me. I was tempted. His voice was shaky. She lowered her gaze, almost shy, though her smile never faded. "Your blood calls to me. It sings in my ears every time you breathe. But I gave my vow, Alex. I will not take it without your consent." Still, temptation is strong. His heart pounded. He wanted to shout at her, to tell her never to touch him again. But instead, he found himself whispering, "And if I gave it?" Her eyes snapped to his, brighter than fire. For the first time, he saw something beyond amusement or hunger. He saw longing. "Then you would never be alone again," she breathed. "You would be mine forever, and I yours. No more shadows. No more fear. Only eternity." The fire crackled softly between them. Alex turned away, afraid of what he might say if he looked at her too long. His blood sang, just as she claimed. And worse, a part of him wanted to believe her. He pulled his cloak tighter, forcing his eyes shut. But sleep did not come easy. Beside him, Serafina sat in silence, her gaze never leaving him, her vow binding them together like invisible chains. The bond between them was growing stronger. Alex could feel it with every breath, every glance, every whispered word. And deep down, he knew the truth, sooner or later. The choice she offered would come again, and when it did, he feared he might not have the strength to say no. The bond between Alex and Serafina grew heavier with each passing night. He had begun to accept her presence, though never fully trusting her. Sometimes she spoke of old places, cities that no longer stood, kings who had turned to dust centuries ago. Her voice carried history he could not understand, and when she smiled, it was as though she remembered secrets the world had forgotten. But not all shadows in the night feared her. Some hunted her instead. It began on a night when the moon was hidden, leaving the ruins in total darkness. Alex and Serafina walked through the remains of an old road, the stones cracked and covered with weeds. The air was still, but Alex's instincts told him something was wrong. The silence was too deep, too watchful. Serafina stopped suddenly. Her hand went to her sword, her red eyes glowing brighter. "They are here," she whispered. "Who?" Alex asked, gripping his own weapon, though he knew it would not matter. Her answer came not with words, but with movement. Figures stepped from the shadows, 3, then 5, then more. Their pale faces caught the faint light, their eyes glowing like hers. They wore dark armor, and their swords gleamed sharper than any steel Alex had seen. One of them, tall and cold, spoke first. "Sister," he said, his voice deep as stone, "what have you done?" Seraphine's smile was thin and sharp. "I chose. He is mine." The tall vampire's gaze shifted to Alex, and the weight of it made Alex's chest tighten. It felt like being pierced without a blade. "A human?" The vampire spat. "You broke our law for this?" Alex's blood ran cold. He did not know what law they spoke of, but from the venom in the words, it was clear her choice had made him their enemy. "They call you thief, another vampire said, his voice filled with scorn. "You stole what does not belong to you. A war bride for a mortal? Unforgivable." Alex raised his sword, though it shook in his hand. He had faced monsters before, but these were different. These were no beasts. They were like Seraphine, ancient, powerful, far beyond his reach. "Stay behind me," Seraphina said softly, her eyes never leaving the others. Her voice was calm, but her grip on her sword was tight. The tall vampire's smile was cruel. "Do you think you can fight us, sister? Against your own clan?" "I do not think," she answered coldly. "I know." Then the night exploded. The vampires moved like storms, their blades flashing in the dark. Alex barely saw them before they clashed with Seraphina. Sparks flew as steel struck steel, their speed so fast it blurred. She fought with deadly grace, every strike precise, every motion beautiful and terrifying. Alex swung at one who rushed him, but his blade was caught with a single hand, twisted and thrown aside. He stumbled back, certain death was near, until Seraphina cut down the attacker in a burst of crimson light. "You are under my vow," she hissed. "No one touches him." The battle raged on. Alex tried to fight, but it was like a child among wolves. He could do nothing but block and retreat, while Seraphina became a whirlwind of shadow and blood. Her laughter rang sharp and cold as she cut down another. Still, the vampires were many. Their strikes came harder, faster, as if the entire night had risen against her. And through it all, they shouted words that struck Alex deeper than their blades could. "Traitor. Human thief. You shame us." At last, Seraphina stood over the fallen, her blade dripping dark blood. The survivors retreated, their eyes burning with hatred. The tall vampire glared at her. "This is not over," he growled. "The council will not forgive. You have chosen death for him and for yourself." Then they vanished into the shadows. Leaving silence behind, Alex fell to his knees, breathing hard. His sword arm trembled. He looked at her, standing tall, her armor cracked but her expression calm. She had saved him again, but the cost was clearer than ever. They were like you," he whispered. "Your kin." "Why did they attack?" Seraphina cleaned her blade slowly. Her eyes glowed brighter in the darkness. "Because they fear what I chose. A warbride belongs to the clan. She is meant to bind kingdoms, not humans. But I rejected them. I bound myself to you instead. And now we are hunted." Alex's chest tightened. He had thought the shadows were his only enemy. Now he saw the truth. By making his wish, he had pulled himself into a hidden war one between creatures older and deadlier than any human army. He met her gaze, fear and anger burning inside him. And what happens when they return? Seraphine's smile was slow, dangerous. "Then we show them why they should have feared me more than they feared you." The night was quiet again, but it was no comfort. Alex knew this was only the beginning. His wish had not just given him a war bride, had placed him in the center of a war he could never escape. The days that followed were darker than before. Alex could not shake the memory of the vampires who had attacked them. Their voices filled with rage, their words dripping with hate. They had called him thief, human worm, and worse. But what haunted him most was their promise, that Seraphine's choice had doomed them both. Every time Alex looked at her now, he felt a weight pressing on his chest. She had fought for him, yes. She had killed her own kind to protect him. But still the question burned inside him. Why? Why had she truly chosen him? One night, as the wind howled through the ruins of an abandoned castle, Alex finally asked, "Seraphina, do you regret it? Choosing me?" She stood by the broken window, her silhouette sharp against the pale moonlight. Her long hair blew in the cold wind, her armor shining faintly like black glass. Slowly she turned, her red eyes glowing. "No," she said simply. "I regret nothing." Her voice was calm, but too calm, as though it hid something deeper. Alex wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at him. He thought of her clan's words. He thought of the hunger he saw in her eyes when she leaned too close. That hunger grew harder to ignore. At first, it had been only whispers, the way her gaze lingered on his throat, the way her breath caught when he bled from a cut. But soon it became sharper. Alex noticed her eyes burning brighter when he fought, when his heart pounded fast, when his skin carried the smell of sweat and blood. One evening, as they fought a group of shadow beasts, Alex's arm was slashed open. Blood spilled hot and quick. He pressed his hand against the wound, gritting his teeth, but when he looked up, Serafina was staring at him, not at the enemy, but at him. Her lips parted, her fangs flashing. For a moment, she did not move to fight the beast that lunged at him. Instead, she stepped closer, her eyes fixed only on the blood dripping down his arm. "Serafina!" Alex shouted, his voice breaking through the trance. She blinked, then turned in a blur and cut down the monster. The fight ended quickly, but Alex's heart raced not from battle, but from fear. Later, when they sat in silence, he wrapped his wound tightly with cloth. She sat nearby, her hands clenched, her body tense like a bowstring. At last she whispered, "I almost failed you." Alex looked up sharply. "You almost killed me." Her head lifted, her eyes meeting his. They glowed faintly, soft but full of conflict. "Yes, the hunger is strong, stronger than I expected. You do not understand, Alex. Your blood is different. It calls to me louder than any I have ever known. It is like fire, like wine, like life itself." His throat tightened. "So I'm just food to you. Is that what this vow means?" Her expression hardened. "No, you are not food. You are mine. That is the difference." Alex stood, anger boiling in him. "That's not protection, that's possession. Do you even care about me, or am I only a prize you want to keep from your clan?" For the first time, Seraphine's face changed. Not into anger, but something like pain. She stood too, her steps slow, careful, as if she walked on fragile glass. "I care," she said softly. "But caring does not erase what I am. I am vampire. I am hunger. And sooner or later, that hunger will demand its price." The fire between them burned hotter than any shadow beast could bring. Alex turned away, his fists clenched, his breath ragged. He wanted to leave, to run, but where would he go? The shadows would kill him. Her clan would hunt him. And still, she was the only reason he was alive. That night, when he finally slept, he dreamed of her. In the dream, she leaned close, her fangs brushing his skin. Her voice was a whisper, sharp and sweet. "One taste, Alex. One taste, and you will never be alone again." He woke, drenched in sweat, his pulse racing, and found her watching him silently from the other side of the fire. The mistrust grew heavier. Alex no longer knew if Serafina was his protector or his curse. She had vowed to guard his life, but what if that vow was only a chain leading him to his own end? When dawn came, weak and gray, he rose to continue the journey. Serafina followed close, silent as ever. Yet every time he felt her gaze on him, he wondered, was it loyalty or was it hunger? The bond between them had deepened, yes, but now it was poisoned with doubt. And in the silence of his heart, Alex asked the question he feared most. What if the greatest threat was not her enemies, but Serafina herself? The night stretched endless across the ruined land. A cold wind swept through the broken stones, carrying with it the stench of ash and old blood. Alex walked beside Serafina, his heart heavy with doubt. For days he had lived between fear and longing, trapped in the strange bond that tied them together. She had saved him again and again, but she had also nearly lost herself to hunger. He no longer knew if she was his shield or his doom. They stopped at the edge of a ruined bridge. Below, a black river moved slow and silent, reflecting the pale light of the moon. The silence was crushing. Alex set down his sword, staring into the water, his thoughts circling like vultures. "Why me?" he asked at last, his voice low. "Out of all the men in this broken world, why did you choose me?" Serafina stood behind him, still as a statue. The wind caught her long dark hair, sending it across her pale face. "Because you wished for me," she answered. "Because you called, and I heard. Because your heart carried a fire I had not seen in centuries." Alex let out a bitter laugh. "Fire, I'm barely alive. I'm nothing but a soldier waiting to die." She moved closer, her steps soundless. "And yet, you live when others have fallen. You fight when others have given up. That is why I am bound to you." Her words carried weight, but they did not ease him. He turned to face her, his eyes hard. "You say you are bound to me, but I'm bound to you too. I didn't choose this. You forced it on me." For the first time, her red eyes softened. "Perhaps. But now the choice is yours." Alex frowned. "What do you mean?" Serafina stepped into the moonlight, her pale face glowing like silver. Her expression was calm, but her voice trembled faintly. "The clan will not stop. They will hunt us both until one of us is ash. You are human, Alex, fragile, mortal. They will tear you apart, and I cannot guard you forever. So you must choose. Drink my blood and become like me, eternal, powerful, my equal. Or remain as you are, and when they come again, you will die." The words cut through him like a blade. Alex staggered back, shaking his head. "You want me to?" "To become a vampire." Her eyes glowed brighter. "Not want. Offer. I offer you forever. With me, you will never fear death again. With me, you will never be alone. Together, we can destroy them, and no one will stand against us." Alex's throat went dry. The thought twisted inside him. Immortality, power, safety, everything a dying soldier could ever want. But it came wrapped in chains. If he drank, he would lose himself. His humanity, his soul, everything that made him Alex. "What happens if I say no?" he asked quietly. Her smile faded. For once, her face looked sad, almost human. "Then I fight until the end. I keep my vow, but when death comes, it will take you, and I will remain, alone, forever." The silence stretched long between them. Alex felt the weight of the moment pressing on his chest. He imagined drinking her blood, feeling that fire she spoke of, living without fear. He imagined walking beside her, not as a weak human, but as an equal, feared by all who had hunted him. But then he thought of the faces he had lost. The comrades who had died human, who had given their lives in battle. What would they think if he turned his back on everything to become what he once fought against? He gripped the bridge railing, his knuckles white. "And if I drink? What am I then? Still me? Or only yours?" Seraphine's red eyes locked on his, glowing with hunger and longing both. "You will still be Alex, but you will also be mine. That is the truth of eternity. Nothing is given freely. Forever has a price." Her words shook him more than the offer itself. He was trapped between two fates, death as a man, or eternity as something less than human. Finally, she stepped closer, her cold hand brushing his cheek. "Decide soon. The clan is coming. The war is almost here. I will not force you, Alex, but know this: if you refuse, I will still protect you. I will keep my vow until your last breath. And when you are gone—" She paused, her voice breaking. "When you are gone, I will curse the world that stole you from me." Alex's chest tightened. He had never heard such pain in her voice. For a moment, he almost forgot the fangs, the hunger, the danger. For a moment, he saw her not as a monster, but as someone who feared being left alone in the endless dark. But still, the choice loomed over him like a blade. Life or death. Humanity or eternity. Freedom or chains. The night whispered around them, heavy and still. The choice of forever waited, and Alex knew the next time he spoke, his fate would be sealed. The night of decision came faster than Alex expected. The air itself felt heavy, as if the world was holding its breath. The ruins around them were silent, but not empty. The clan was coming. Serafina could feel them long before Alex saw the glow of their red eyes in the dark. She stood ready, her blade drawn, her armor glinting faintly in the moonlight. Alex stood beside her, his sword trembling in his hands. He knew it was useless against creatures like them, but still, he refused to drop it. His choice was not yet made, and he would not fall before it was. The first figures appeared, pale and cold, their steps silent as the grave. Then more followed. Dozens of them surrounding the broken courtyard, their eyes burning with hatred. At their head stood the tall vampire from before, his voice sharp as steel. "Sister," he said, "the council has spoken. You and your pet human will be destroyed. The blood bond ends tonight." Seraphine's lips curved into a thin smile. Let them come. The clash came swift and brutal. Shadows tore through the air as blades struck. The sound of steel rang loud, the cries of monsters filling the night. Serafina moved like a storm, her strikes faster than sight, cutting down her kin with deadly precision. But there were too many. Alex fought too, though each swing felt weaker than theirs. His blade scraped armor, cut flesh, but every strike reminded him he was only human, fragile among gods. He stumbled, barely dodging a strike that would have ended him. When Seraphine's blade flashed again, saving him as she had so many times before. But even she could not hold them all. Blood splattered across the stones, black and red mixed together. The vampires pressed closer, their voices echoing. Traitor, human thief, death to both. Alex's chest burned, his breath ragged. He knew this was it. If he stayed human, he would die here, crushed in the storm of blades. And if he drank her blood, he might live forever, but never as himself. Choose Alex. Serafina shouted above the clash, her voice sharp with desperation. Now, live with me or die with them. The world slowed around him. He saw her pale, beautiful, terrible, her red eyes glowing with both hunger and fear. He saw the clan, endless, merciless, waiting to tear him apart. And inside, he felt the fire of his wish burning still. The wish not to be alone. His hand trembled. His throat tightened. And then, with a broken voice, he whispered, "Yes." Seraphine's eyes widened. For the first time, they filled with something like relief. She cut down another foe, then turned to him, her hand reaching out. "Then drink." She drew the blade across her own wrist, pale skin spilling crimson that gleamed in the moonlight. The scent filled the air, sharp and sweet, pulling at Alex like a chain. His heart thundered as he took her hand. The blood touched his lips. Fire. That was the only word for it. It burned through his veins, searing every nerve, filling him with a strength both terrifying and intoxicating. His vision blurred, then sharpened. The world lit up with new colors. Every enemy's movement slowed, every sound clear as thunder. The clan froze, their eyes wide. "No, he drinks," one whispered. Seraphine's voice rang out, proud and cold. "No longer human. He is mine, forever." Alex roared, his sword cutting through the enemy with power he had never known. For the first time, he fought not as prey, but as predator. He felt their fear, and it thrilled him. The battlefield turned crimson as he and Seraphina tore through their enemies. Side by side, unstoppable dot. When the last vampire fell, silence covered the ruins. The ground was soaked in blood. The moon looked down on a battlefield emptied of everything but the two of them. Alex stood, his chest heaving, his body trembling with new strength. Seraphina touched his cheek, her smile soft, almost tender. Now you are truly mine. Now we are eternal. But even as her words washed over him, Alex felt the weight inside. The fire in his veins did not fade. It grew louder and louder until he could no longer tell where his heartbeat ended and the hunger began. He looked at her, and for a moment he saw not Seraphina but prey. Her blood called to him as his had once called to her. He staggered back, horror dawning. What have I done? Seraphine's smile did not fade, though her eyes glowed brighter. You wished, Alex? And wishes always demand their price. The night was silent again. The shadows had been defeated, the clan destroyed. Humanity was safe for now. But Alex knew the truth. He was no longer human. His wish had given him forever, but forever was not freedom. Forever was chains. As the moon sank behind the clouds, Alex's voice broke in the stillness. Careful what you wish for. Seraphine's hand slipped into his, her cold touch sealing the fate he could never escape. Together, they walked into the endless dark, not man and monster. Not soldier and savior, but war bride and groom, bound forever by blood and by curse.